Hi, this is Claire Willis from Chicago-Kent College of Law Library, and I'm going to talk about finding statutes electronically. In this section, you should learn how to locate statutes when you have a citation or a popular name. As we'll discuss later, popular names are the names by which laws are commonly known, things like Americans with Disabilities Act or Obamacare. How to find statutes on a particular topic. And finally, you will learn about two reliable free sources of statutes and legislative information, LII, the Legal Information Institute, and Congress.gov. Let's start by retrieving a statute by citation. I'm here in Lexis Advanced, but this process is the same on Lexis Westlaw and Bloomberg. I'm looking for 42 United States Code 121.8.1. When I pull this up on Lexis, I see the statute itself. A couple important things to note. The history note will tell you what the original public law number was, when it was passed, and then most importantly, it gives you case notes. These are cases that cite your particular statute for an important area of law. So here we see cases that all have to do with the public accommodation. These are not necessarily all the cases that cite your statute, but these are the ones that are chosen by the editors as being especially important for different areas of law. So that's how you find the case by citation. Now let's look at finding a statute by popular name. As I mentioned earlier, popular names for statutes are the names by which ordinary people would call a statute. They might say Americans with Disabilities Act, Patriot Act, something like that. So I want to show you the popular name table because it can bring you to the statute and it can also bring you to some other information. Then I'll show you some other statutory research tools. I'm here on Westlaw now, so I'm looking for United States Code Annotated Popular Name Table. It autofills that for me when I type popular. So I can go through the alphabet or I can just type it in the search myself. I want to say Americans with Disabilities Act. Now some of you are probably saying, yeah, well it's right there. If I click on that little drop down menu, it actually takes me to a secondary source called the Americans with Disabilities Act. I want to run a search instead. Americans with Disabilities Act, and there is my result. It lets me know what the public law number is. It lets me know where the sections of the public law wound up in the U.S. Code because it is a pretty huge piece of legislation. So I'm going to go into the first section here and show you some other statutory research tools. So one thing to note is that you can go section by section using these green arrows. So here we define disability right after Congress announces its finding and purpose. Another thing is this pop-out table of contents. And I should note that Lexis has something similar. This is not unique to Westlaw. So this lets me know in what kind of context I am here. I'm in the very beginning with findings and purpose, defining disability, but let's say that I'm only really concerned about public accommodations. I can skip through all of these different areas and just go into subchapter 3 on public accommodations. This takes me to another section of the table of contents, and I can go right to the definitions, or I can go to the prohibition of discrimination by public accommodations. Look at that statute. Now earlier when we saw the case notes on Lexis, the corollary on Westlaw is the notes of decisions. And I could see cases that were pulled out as having to do with particular public accommodations. Let's take a closer look at finding a statute by the topic. So I'm back on Lexis Advanced. Now you can start your search by searching everything. I'm of the mind that the better way to do this is to start with a particular area to search within. I know that I'm searching federal materials, and I also know that I'm searching the United States Code. Now, the other way to search is to search broadly and then filter down. I don't like to have to ignore a lot of extraneous information. So I'm going to say disabilit. That exclamation point gives you variations on the word. So disabilities, disability will all show up within paragraph of discriminate. So this will be discrimination, discriminating within paragraph again of public accommodation. And then when I run the search, it's searching the United States Code, and it gives me an answer about the prohibition of discrimination in public accommodations. But let's say that I don't necessarily know about public accommodations. Let's say I don't even know about the Americans with Disabilities Act. How can I start searching by topic? And the way to do that is definitely with secondary sources. So I'm going to show you the Georgetown Treatise Finder. The Georgetown Treatise Finder is a tool of the Georgetown Law Library, and essentially seeks to answer the question of, is there a good secondary source on X? So we have all these different areas of law, including disability law. So it recommends some print resources and also electronic. So I could go to this Disabilities and the Law treatise, and if I click on it, it brings me directly into the treatise on Westlaw. I can search within it. I can go to something in the table of contents. Here we have a definition of public accommodations, and it brings me to actual statute citations and into the statute itself. So this is just another way to get at statutes by topic, to start with a secondary source that'll give us more information about the statute and then a citation itself, rather than risking sorting through a lot of information that you don't need. Let's end this discussion of finding statutes electronically with a few free resources. First, we have congress.gov, which is a source for legislative information including bills, public acts, and actions that have been taken on those bills. This is especially good for current legislation and for doing some legislative history online. If I click on this bill, we can see its sponsor, the text, and actions that have been taken on the bill. Now this site here, congress.gov, and another site, FDsys, that you've probably seen for other free government information, is to be replaced by govinfo.gov, this new site that will act as a easy-to-search portal for government information. Now another free source that is very popular is the Legal Information Institute. You'll see the acronym is LII, but the URL is law.cornell.edu. Easiest thing to do, just Google the name of it and go to the result. You can jump right to the US Code and enter it in by title and section number and get the text of the US Code. You will also see that LII has its own table of popular names. Those are my tips on finding statutes electronically. If you have questions, please feel free to email refreq@kentlaw.iit.edu or go to our library guide for help on finding statutes and regulations. That's at guides.kentlaw.iit.edu/statutes_regulations. Again, this is Claire Willis from the Chicago-Kent College of Law Library.